If this is not handled, then maybe somebody will go and he will go through the motions, he will go to the end and he will finish and he will have a certificate, and maybe the certificate will say I'm now A2, B1, whatever. But the real test, and that's the only thing that I'm interested in, is I'm not interested in what certificate he has. I'm just beyond frustrated because I've just recorded an entire podcast episode and it was really good and it's not recorded. That's maybe a little behind the scenes here. I'm not scripting my podcast episodes. I do think about the subject. I do often take notes. I do think of what I'm saying. I do select the topics to fit to my concept and to the flow of the podcast and so on, but I do not script my episodes. So when I speak for 15 minutes or 20 minutes and it's not recorded, then it's gone forever. And that's a shame because this one was really good. Okay, good. So this is an episode, and it's actually the third attempt that I'm doing now. So if it really is bad, then I'm very sorry. I'm trying to give it to you anyway because there is a lot of stuff in here that is valuable and that I really want to give to you because I think it is important. So anyway, how did I get the idea of this episode? I got the idea of this episode because I was holding a workshop the other day, the How to Actually Learn German workshop, which is the first step for anybody who's interested in doing a course with me. So the course that I'm currently offering is the Get Talking German course. It is a course that is for anybody who's a complete beginner or who has learned a little bit but never actually arrived to speaking, or even people that have learned a lot and never got to the point where they're actually speaking. And a participant told me that he doesn't like to do self-paced courses because he thinks he will not be disciplined enough to actually go there. He says he knows himself. If he's listening to the podcast, he will know who he is. And he also told me a little bit of his story. And he told me that he had done an intensive course for 2 months and now he's almost at the end of a semester course. I don't know how intensively, but he's taking this course. And he's obviously still not speaking German. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be at my workshop. I don't know if I got to tell him, to communicate that to him in depth or enough. So maybe he is listening to it, because I know that the reason that he's having trouble is not German. He thinks it's because German is a very hard language, but it's actually not that. I'm not saying that German is hard or not hard. That's besides the point. The point is, whatever you're learning, if you're using the correct method and if you are getting good materials and good support, you will be motivated and you will remain motivated. What he was thinking and saying is that he feels that a self-paced course doesn't keep him accountable. And if you look at it, it's true. When you pay for a course and it's a physical course and you have to go there twice a week for the evening, you will go there. There's other people there, there's a teacher there, and you've paid for it. And if you don't go there, then it just goes to waste. And you're not going to do that most probably, or the chances are higher. Okay, good. So now let's look at it. So basically you're saying you have given up, you hate it, you hate this course, and you actually wouldn't learn it if you weren't forcing yourself to do it. So what I'm telling you is that even though this may be something that you have been used to for a long time, particularly if you were at school, and I guess you have been at school. So you're there, maybe in the beginning you were interested in it, and then you failed to understand things, and then you became gradually less and less and less and less interested in it. You maybe put a lot of reasons there in your mind because people usually don't like to fail, why that is the case. But it's usually never the real reason. Maybe I'm going to do a separate podcast episode about that. But in any case, the problem is that you're no longer motivated. The solution is not to be forced, because the point here is when you go to my course or when we come back to a course that works, if you're really motivated at something and if you know what to do and how to learn it, and if you understand what you're doing, then you don't have to force yourself to do it. If there is a book and you're interested in that book and you want to read that book, you don't have to force yourself to read that book. And if you do have to, then there is something wrong. Now the sad truth is, if you don't fix what's wrong there, you will not actually succeed at that course anyway. You will go there. Maybe you will have attended all the lessons and you will get an attendance record, and maybe you even get a certificate, and maybe you even pass an exam. But will you be able to actually apply what you learned? So in a German course, will you be able to actually speak German? No, you won't. We have to fix what is keeping you from happily learning. Because if you don't fix that, you will never learn German, no matter if you force yourself to go to that class or not. Now let's look at how it can be otherwise. And let's also look why I have chosen self-paced courses. Because the point is, even if all of this is present, even if a student knows what to do and how to do it, and understands everything that is going on, he will not have the exact same speed as every other student. Let's look at it. People learn things in their individual speed, always. And some things are difficult for you, and then the next thing not. You can take a look at that in anything. For example, me and my sister, I think now that we're both adults, we both like to talk, we're both lively people, we both like to read, and we both like to dance and so on. However, when we grew up as little kids, my sister, I'm a few years older, I'm 12 years older, so she was standing in her crib when she was like 10 months old, and she started walking shortly after that. She started talking later, I don't know, when she was like 14, 15 months, as far as I remember. But she was already running around at that time. I was the other way around. I was lying in my crib talking when I was like a year old. And actually, I started walking when I was like 1.5 years old. And then I was sitting and crawling and things like that. It was hard for me to learn to walk. And I don't know, talking wasn't so hard for me. I know from many siblings that it's like that. And I know it even more from kids that I've been tutoring and so on. Everyone learns everything at their own individual speed. So let's say you have a list of 20 words. The first word will maybe take you, 20 seconds, and the second one may be taking you 2 minutes, and the third one will take you longer, and the fourth one will take you shorter. And that's completely okay. I'm inviting you to look at things that you can do and see if you had individual speeds. Let's say mathematics. You're doing 10 different problems in mathematics. And maybe they could even be the same subject. And maybe the first is super fast and then the second one takes longer and so on. So this applies to cooking, to dance steps, to everything. People learn at their individual speed. And this is not a general statement. This is even for every single step of whatever you're learning. And this is impossible in a group class where everyone learns the same thing at the same time. This is impossible. And that's why I'm a big advocate of doing things in individual speeds. And that's why I have put together the course that I'm delivering now. For many years, I've taught German in an open class. People had their materials, so they had their entire thing, everything they needed to learn. And we had certain hours of the week. Usually it was 2 times 1.5 hours. And everybody would come online, offline as well. I've actually done it both. And I had this small group of 3 or 4 people, and everyone was working on their materials quietly, doing the things that they can do quietly. And I was working with each one to do this one step for 15, 20 minutes to practice this list of words. And then the next one. And then that person would continue and do some written exercises. And I went to the next one. And I did 15, 20 minutes, and I practiced this particular sentence pattern. A sentence pattern is how I teach people to make correct sentences, to put words together. This is what we're using instead of grammar rules to say correct sentences. I'm also explaining that more in the How to Actually Learn German workshop. So I kept doing that. That worked too. But the problem was we only had 90 minutes a week. They could do some homework extra, but at the end of the day, there was always a point where they couldn't continue because they would have needed more of my time. And there was no possibility for anybody to go significantly faster if they wanted. So that's how I finally came to this point. This is not because I'm lazy, and it's not even because I don't want to do one-on-one classes. I could have teachers and could have group classes, live and online, but the self-paced part is still the best way. For example, how are you doing it in my course? You're watching a video and you're learning in that video how to pronounce a list of 20 words, for example, and you're repeating it and you know the meaning and so on. And then you practice these words. You can practice them by yourself, but you also have regular times with your study partner where you also practice them. And then you write some, and then you watch the next video, and you do the next exercise and so on. But maybe then there is this one video, and then you notice, no, I think I should watch it again because I still don't know how to say these words. And then you're just watching it again. And maybe for this other exercise, the exercise you do with the words, for one list you need 20 minutes, but for another one, you really feel that you don't have those words yet and you need more time. So you take it. And only when you're self-paced, you can actually do that. And that's why I have self-paced courses. And the reason that they're online really is, actually, I may at some point have in-house courses. The system is going to be the same, but people come here. So that could be a difference. But most students in the world are obviously not able to come to Vienna. So that's why I chose online courses. So I hope I have answered why people believe self-paced courses don't work. And the real reason is a self-paced course can work. The difference is a course that is not self-paced has a higher retention rate. It has a higher probability that the student will still walk there, and he will be sitting there, and he will be going through the motions until the end of the course. I'm not saying that every student only goes through the motions, obviously. But in German, it seems to be an incredibly amount of people, because, I don't know, only 20% maybe of the people that ever start a German course actually arrive at the end of being able to speak German. So there is something structurally wrong with courses, but it's really not just about German courses. but that just happens to be my subject. The point is, if this is not handled, then maybe somebody will go and he will go through the motions, he will go to the end and he will finish and he will have a certificate, and maybe the certificate will say, I'm now A2, B1, whatever. But the real test, and that's the only thing that I'm interested in, is I'm not interested in what certificate he has. I'm interested is the person able to communicate in German? I'm not even interested in, can he say a grammar rule? I'm not even interested in, is he error-free? I want him to be able to communicate, and I want him to be able to understand, and I want him to be able to clarify things if he doesn't know, and I want him to be able to become better, because learning is a progressive thing. You will never completely finish learning anything. So that's what I'm interested in. And that's why sometimes people think self-paced courses don't work. But the only thing they don't work for is they're less good at forcing people who are no longer motivated to finish. And that's not something that I'm interested in anyway, so that's totally okay. So if you want to learn actual German, and if you want to find out a few of the things that are a problem in traditional German courses and how they can be done different, like you will actually experience it, then you're more than welcome to attend one of the workshops that I'm holding. It's the How to Actually Learn German workshop. These are the first step if you're interested in taking one of my courses. The course that I'm currently starting is the Get Talking German course. The spring 26 round of the Get Talking German course is about to start, so the enrollment is about to close. So if you're interested in that, go to bettergerman.info/course. If you have any questions, or if you missed the workshop but you're still interested, you can also go to that page. It's possible to book a clarity call if you have any more questions about that course. I wanted to communicate this thing because I think it's really interesting. People are so used to courses or classes be something that you have to force yourself to go through. And it shouldn't be like that, and it doesn't have to be like that. And I wish you that learning is not like that. If you want to learn German and you're not ready for one of the courses, then definitely follow the podcast. In that case, I would totally suggest to go to the beginning of the podcast and start listening from there. Hang in there. Enjoy learning. Pleasure to talk to you. And until next time, bye-bye.